Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's the Tube, or welcome back. If this is your 7th Matlock Season 2 episode review, hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe out there in the big old world. Sadly, I have done it once again, everyone. I officially thought I recorded this episode review, and it turned out that it was not recording. I don't know what happened to me. It could be because I have lack of sleep. Anyway, I do apologize for the delay of this review again. It's been a very tribulate time right now, trying to get everything under coordination, and I do apologize. Matlock was pretty much like the one I was like really making sure that it hits on the nail, but it's just been very difficult to coordinate a lot of things. We're finishing off the production year. We also are getting things ready for 2026. I'm also doing a lot of personal stuff in the background. We are in the holiday period, so it's a lot to do. It is a lot to do. So I do apologize if we don't always get those Matlock reviews out on time. I really miss those days of, getting it live, getting it out to you as fast as possible. But at the same time, it just is a part of growing up. This is still a hobby. This is still very much like something that I like to do on the side. And I still love doing it. I still do, but I just wanted to say I apologize for sometimes, like, you expect the review to come on Thursday night or Friday, and here we are posting it on a Monday morning. So I do apologize on that. I really do. But it gives more people time to go watch it on Paramount Plus. And again, this is not a plug. I am not sponsored by Paramount Plus. I wish CBS, I'm available. I'm available. But we're back. It's been a couple of weeks since the last episode, and I will admit, I kind of did have a little bit of a catch up to do on where we at the front, because we were off for 3 weeks. It's been a very long 3 weeks. We had Thanksgiving, we had a lot of things to do. I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. I started a new temporary employment. So I've been very busy trying to get back into the cadence of having a traditional work schedule again. So it's been very, very difficult on my end to coordinate everything. So I don't exactly remember where we were at in Matlock. But the way Matlock season, the last episode ended, was very much like a finite point of it's kind of like a good jump off point when we do come back. And honestly, it was. So I didn't really need too much time to kind of remember where we were at in the larger storyline. Where for this week, I really did enjoy it a lot. I did. It really kind of was a character-focused developmental episode, getting back to Olympia and Maddie, just trying to focus on their other things that they have to worry about, where Olympia has to kind of be reminded of the aspect of family, and Maddie has to kind of, rectify what her current existing family problem, which is a potential new addition to it that she wasn't expecting. And it goes very, very well, and it gets very poignant at points that it just kind of reminds you how important family is to your life, whether it's found family or blood family. And so just a reminder of that, just, at this time of the year, just spend time with your loved ones. You never know when something can ever go south. You never know when something can happen. You at least want to have as much opportunity to be with them as possible. That's just my perspective on it. So with that being said, let's go through the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of Matlock. So we begin with Maddie practicing her French. I'm not quite sure exactly what the reason is anymore, and I do apologize because, again, well, first of all, this is the Butcher recap. I'm not going to remember everything from the episode, sadly, when I'm recapping it. But at the same time, it's also the other perspective where, sadly, for this week's episode, I did have to watch it in 2 sessions because I was trying to fit a time slot for this to do it in one go, but sadly things kind of got away of it, so I had to focus on those things, and I couldn't just rewind those previous 15 minutes when I did come back to it. And just now I just had the second part of it, the majority of it. So I do apologize if I forgot exactly why Maddie was speaking French. She's on the phone with Olympia. Today's the day that they're going to vote against Senior, hopefully to get him out, and hopefully they can finish off their investigation without doing too much canoodling in the background, so to speak. But again, anything can happen, and hopefully it'll all work out, and Senior will be out on the streets, defeated man for now. The meeting is there. It's the quarterly meeting time. Senior's about to kind of initiate it, kind of trying to, see where everything's at in the business front. But however, sadly, that's when his ex-wife takes the stage, ready to, stage the coups, calls the vote, ready to kick Senior out. Everything's ready to go, and sadly, Senior, having, obviously called one of it, it wasn't a surprise for that to happen. He whips out a package, shares it out with everyone, that apparently a few years ago there was a merger for the firm. I'm assuming this is the Jacobson and the Moore front of it merging together. What essentially happened was a bunch of boring legal stuff. Obviously, for a law firm, you assume they would read it, but for the fact of this episode, they didn't. Apparently, there was a clause in Senior's benefit as the managing partner. So if Senior, in the hypothetical case, ever gets voted out, in whatever capacity he gets removed, he gets to take a good portion of their business away. Most of their a good amount of their clients would go to him, and whatever he decides to do that, whether he's going to go solo, whether he starts a new firm, those people essentially belong to him. So for the larger firm now, if they lose senior now, if they vote him out now, that means a good portion of their business goes away, and that's also not stopping him from also bad mouthing him to the clients that were trusting them and still staying with them and say, "Oh, I'm the one really managing you guys, so you guys can stay with them per your contract, but you're not going to get the same quality of service because I'm not there anymore." So definitely they realize that it's not entirely as easy just to remove senior just by getting the votes they need. It's also basically a blowback effect, which he's trying to create, and obviously everyone's not entirely happy about that. Especially, look at Olympia, we're like, damn, how the hell he caught wind of it? They don't really know right now, which we know as an audience, but not to them right now. The proper business day starts. Sarah is working for Billy on preparing for a baby shower, but she's having difficulties trying to secure provisions for the party, which Maddie's about to chime in and help out, but sadly she does get a call from Augie's dad, letting her know that the program is finished. He has completed his rehabilitation, and he's ready to meet back up with her and Edwin for the next steps of, trying to actually get a relationship with Augie. So she's like, okay, we're actually really progressing on this. This is happening. This is really, really happening. He's showing his initiative. He's showing his worth. And now we're starting to really see the fruit of that labor. Olivia does page in for Maddie to let her know that sadly the coup failed. Senior knows, and now all the partners are kind of debating, like, is the coup really worth it? Are we really ready to lose a good portion of our business because of Senior? So definitely it's a bit of a conundrum right now for them to see what exactly they're going to do at that point. I believe from there, that's when Olympia gets called away herself by Julian. Julian said, "Come to the courthouse. There's something you got to see," and the thing she's got to see is this man defending himself that we don't know as an audience. He's just horribly defending himself, and just like he is just not doing so well. He's just missing after missing all of his cues, and Olympia's watching. It's like, oh my god, it's this guy, and we get a flashback to 4 years ago where Julian and Olympia are still bride and married. They're still going through things, and apparently Julian is setting up a bit of a reunion meal between Olympia and her mother, who haven't really spent any quality time in some time, and that's including a brand new party that they don't want to be there, but it's at least something they have to do. And it turns out to be that the two people that are in the middle of the defense is actually her mother and her new husband. So sadly, Olympia's like, great. So she steps in, chimes in to be the new counsel, claiming to be the daughter of the woman. Obviously, she's appalled by it because, like, this wasn't the plan, and so. But the judge does accept Olympia to be the new counsel, because any lawyer would be better than what this man's doing on. And I'm just like, he is just not doing so well, not doing so hot. So we get pulled aside to one of the meeting rooms, kind of getting caught up what's going on. The mom, who was originally just dating this man, is now married to him. She invested in some business aspects for him, so they are joint partners. Sadly, one of those business ventures went south. Their entire house is on the line, and they're also dealing with a lawsuit from a different person right now that was scorned by her new husband's business affairs. And obviously, Olympia's appalled. She's like, "So, you got remarried. You put the house on the line. Like, these are all like stuff. It's like things you shouldn't be risking at your age." So Olympia steps in to fully be her new counsel, but just for her mom. She's going to leave this guy out of the wind, and the mom's like, "Nope. You are going to defend both. If you really want to defend me, you have to defend both of us. That's a package deal." And Olympia walks away in anger. This is not what she wants to deal with today, but thankfully Julian manages to calm her down with a story about his father, which reminds us that, Senior, not the father of the year. Definitely not father of the year material right here. So we leave that into that for the time being. I believe, I'm trying to remember the order of events here. I really am struggling with this week's episode. I'm not going to lie to you about it. Maddie and Edwin do meet up with Augie's dad. It seems everything went well in the rehab portion. Now they're kind of just trying to explore how do we really figure out where they can explore a new beginning for him and his son. and they're like just suggesting things like, let's just do a nice dinner, let's have you guys break the ice a little bit, obviously he's suggesting some talking points about what they could do. Obviously they're being mostly shut down. It's like we don't want Augie to be exposed to certain things right now because of his development, so we think it's better like just stick to the basic stuff. Just don't do anything specific, like don't touch about his mom's drug abuse, don't talk about like motorcycles, don't talk about things that like he doesn't really need to hear at his age. Well, which he's reacting, okay, point taken, so to speak. So I believe from there, yeah, Olivia brings together the whole team, trying to get for the case about her new stepdad's business ventures, which have gone south, and sadly he has made a bigger hole of himself when he was on his own defense, mentioning some things from the past that sadly the prosecutor could use in to assist them in this particular matter, particularly one of his ex-girlfriends who was a former business partner of his, which again Olympia is starting to raise red flags of like, oh, so this isn't the first time you had a girlfriend that invested money into your businesses. So I'm like, okay, good to know. Meanwhile, Sarah and Billy are just gossiping like middle schoolers in the corner about like, oh my god, Olympia's mom does not look like Olympia whatsoever. And even Olympia calls them out on it, and they're like, oh no, we're just focusing on the matter. And they're even actually talking about stuff that they're supposed to do as a follow up to all this information they're absorbing. Which I'm like, okay. Guess you guys have the gossiping and the studying aspect down very, very tightly. You got the best of both worlds on this one. So I believe we get to the first day of deliberation. So their first witness is the ex-girlfriend they mentioned, and the prosecutor instantly setting up the case of like, she was just a lover of his. They were in love with each other. They had no issues. Everything was fine. And then, the business venture went south. It never happened in the first place. And then they went to go on one of their last dates, and he broke up with her before the performance. And, that was a devastating blow to them. Sadly, Olympia having to defend his mother here has to basically destroy the credibility of this woman using past romantic issues as like a pattern, as well as like, saying very malicious things that would also kind of, make her more beneficial to be voting against him in this regard. And then the jury is receptive towards it, like basically destroying this entire witness's character before they can really get down to it. So again, this kind of hurts Olympia because, like, this woman probably has some legitimate claims, but sadly, because her mom put the house on the line, she kind of has to do every trick in the book to save it. From there, I don't believe we get to that yet. I know Maddie and Edwin are kind of going through things about the whole, bringing back, Joey, I forgot his name because I don't want to mention that name, bringing him into things. It's a little bit scary, because again, Augie is very much like wants this to go perfectly. He's been waiting for this day for months, and they don't want it to mess it up. They don't want to, and I don't really blame them, so to speak, on it. But sadly, however, when the night comes for their dinner, he doesn't show up. He calls Augie to say that he doesn't feel so good, and they're gonna have to reschedule for another time, which honestly, kind of hurts him. But at the same time, they just assume that, oh, did he relapse because of the stress of like reconnecting as a father? So exactly what happened, we don't know exactly at this point right now. Olivia does confide in Julian with everything going on. Apparently, Julian is trying to still play the mediator, even if their families are divorced. So, like, trying to organize a dinner between the families, and which Olivia kind of wants to bow out of because she doesn't want to be truly involved in any of those matters right now because, she's not really exactly happy with her mother, especially when the last time they, in the next flashback is revealed that, she tells her like, yeah, we're starting to date. It's kind of recently. I'm very happy. And, I just want you to know. And Olivia's not really receptive to the idea. Cause again, it's just like any child, like, I thankfully had never had to gone through it with my parents, but when your parent is going to go back out there into the dating field, it's not entirely a very positive thing because you don't want your other parent that's maybe not there anymore, maybe just in general, to be replaced, essentially. That dynamic is like, it's a very scary dynamic. It very much is. And I had like some fears of it growing up, so to speak, on that too. So I could definitely relate to her on that. So it doesn't really sit well with Olympia on that one, to kind of have all this happening around this. So similar to kind of how where, ironically, Sarah was a couple weeks ago, but sadly there's no correspondence between them on it. because I believe that's when Senior attempts to get the information from his ex-wife about who's running the coup, who's actually going to vote against him if the vote does happen, just to try to like get preliminary fire. And she doesn't really budge on it too. It's like, it's not your business to know. You already found out about the coup. Okay, that's great for you. And then you go figure out who exactly is trying to vote against you. Have fun doing it. I believe that's also when Sarah does admit to Billy about the whole thing about like she helped Senior get Julian's date book, and also getting all the scheduling, which is ironic. It ties in everything together. And Billy's recommendation is like, you shouldn't get involved with this any further. Like, it's okay, you got involved, but I think this is it for you. I think this is all the furthest you should go with right now with the situation, because you don't want to be caught in the crossfire of this particular action because you don't know how it's going to end, particularly speaking. Maddie does have a meeting with Joey and his um, sponsor about why Joey missed the dinner, and Joey admits that it wasn't because he was feeling sick or anything. It's because he was basically scared off by Maddie, because Maddie's a very extreme person. She does have specifications, and from what Joey remembers from when he was with Ellie, that she will do whatever she wants to get her way on certain things, which obviously Maddie feels insulted by, but she is thinking of Augie in this matter, so she does back down and kind of said, okay, well, I guess we could talk about it from that capacity, if you feel like I'm the issue at hand of you two kind of reconnecting. So sadly, she does get very insulted by that point. Um, I believe by the next point with the deliberation, I know that the Olympia's stepdad gets put on the stand about things about the his business ventures, and Olympia tries to play it cool, tries to give him like the benefit of the doubt, trying to give him to be as this unsuspecting business venture partner. But sadly, the prosecutor immediately pulls out the fact that there was a certain health benefit business he was running. At a brief point, he did release a commercial to potential investors after a study he claimed to have done. But sadly, one of the things that was noticed by the commercial is that 4 of the people that were seen in the commercial actually were actors that were also in the same play that he broke up with his ex-girlfriend with. So I'm like, it doesn't really help things much out, to be honest with you. Even he admits that like he never did proper a marketing test beforehand. He just kind of went with it because he just had to do it because the business needed it. And obviously everyone's mad at him now. Even his own wife dismisses him, and but that doesn't really like get to a good point between her and Olympia, because it just kind of continues to show that, like, okay, you were just waiting for that to happen. You just want to prove to me that he's a bad guy, he's not a good person, that I should leave him, and that's maybe not entirely what Olympia was, but it definitely is a positive, side effect for her to like, to realize. But so the two are still very much in like very muddy waters on this one. I know Olympia and Maddie do talk about a potentiality of trying to get access to the NDA. There already is an opportunity with Julian organizing this like joint family dinner that night. So maybe if Olympia could just find a way to like measle her way in there into Senior's office, they could be able to get the NDA and kind of figure out exactly what exactly is this woman kind of like withholding from them for them to know about it. So I believe from there we go. Did we go to the dinner yet? I don't believe so. I know Maddie does confide in Edwin about the whole, about Joey not wanting to be moving forward with his connection with Augie until Maddie kind of pushes to the side. And even though that Edwin tells him like, that's not something Joey can demand, but at the same time, obviously we want them to reconnect. And then he kind of admits like, yeah, I know how I am. Maybe that's a reason why Ellie got pushed away by me, because of how, demanding I am, which, she gets saddened by, and she doesn't really want to ruin the potentiality of Joey and Augie. So she kind of wants Edwin to kind of just chaperone things by himself, not with her involved, to kind of give them the best chance possible, of not relapsing at that point, which is again, it hurts her, but at the same time she kind of has to move herself aside for the better good in that regard. I believe from there we get to the dinner itself. Everyone's there. Olympia does pull pull aside Senior for the topic of the case itself, trying to figure out exactly what they could do to guarantee Olympia's victory of the certain matter. Senior doesn't really give her advice, but kind of pushes her in the right direction, which Senior was very happy by. That, oh, you didn't even have to really need my help on it. So it's like you still got your wits on you, kid. Um, Sadly, Olympia does have to use some very choice words to get Seniors, including calling her stepfather a red flag of a man, which does work. It does allow Olympia to kind of get his office to be used as a private space for the time being, so allows her to kind of like rummage through things trying to find the NDA, which sadly does get interrupted when her mom does come in, kind of blading her for like, like, I heard what you said about my husband, and I'm like, I don't appreciate that. You very much like never liked him. You never wanted to be on my side on things, and all you've been doing ever since, like, for years have been just been controlling. You've just been wanting to benefit things for yourself, and and sometimes I have to make certain decisions to actually get a word in edgewise, which is, for example, sadly at some point in the past, she did spend a lot of money on her new husband when they were dating, and she had to ask Olympia for a loan of money, and Olympia agreed for the condition that she is her financial advisor. She'll control every single little dollar of her payments, of her financial tracking, which she didn't like. So she did ask Julian to like give her a hand in it, because Julian would at least give her some freedom in the matter of speaking. But she just doesn't want to. She didn't want Olympia involved, and she lets her know like, you're also not exactly wantable as well. You're not. So just for a point of reference with that one. Um, so I believe from there so we see a blow up with them. Olympia does also kind of, cater to Maddie, who's also in a similar position where like Maddie is kind of excluding herself from everything between Joey and Augie, just to like give them the best chance. And Olympia trying to cheer up her spirits. I do definitely like that they're kind of like slowly kind of becoming friends again to a certain regard on it. So it is very much sweet to hear. Olympia does have a late night visitor, not like that, but it is very much her stepfather, as she's willing to talk litigation and talk of a new strategy for their benefits show for the next day of deliberations. Which I believe when they get there, she manages to prove for a reasonable doubt, because there was actually a pretty big that I actually glossed over by accident. There was a big business decision that was technically notified to him prior to when things fell south. So they're going to actually use it as like, a cadence of like that it didn't work out, so to speak, that he didn't get that communication in time because his grandson was using his phone, and it didn't really work out for him to get all those messages in time. So by the time things went south, he just didn't know about the information at hand, which they name drop Pokemon, which I'm like, okay. Cool for you trying to be hip, and like Pokemon Go in 2025. I'm like, I don't think that's a wrong timeline. I don't play Pokemon Go anymore. I do play Pokemon the Pocket game now, but I'm like, is Pokemon Go still relevant in 2025? I haven't seen that much people out there in the world playing it, but I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just on the marketplace for right now. So they managed to play it off as like his grandson messed with the phone, deleted some things on the stand, and they actually are able to get a 10-year-old to testify on that regard, which I'm like, damn. Which actually does work. It does work out in their benefit. They do manage to get the case thrown out, so that is definitely a win for it. Maddie and Joey do meet up again to talk about things, and Joey does apologize for the way he did treat Maddie. That wasn't his intention to treat the grandmother of his son. He just had to voice that, considering the fact it's still scary of like having to pick up being a father this late in the game, missing so much of his life, and being dictated still of like, how can you be a father? How should you be a father? Like, he just kind of wants to just reestablish a connection with him, and he just doesn't want like a looming like tower of prohibitions over him when he's trying to figure all this out. And Maddie does understand him, and they are willing to still be together during this process. And even Joey kind of touches Maddie's heart a little bit, mentioning some of the, at least personal thoughts on her mother, which some of them are kind of insulting, but at the same time some of them are also very gratifying, very very loving, and something that Maddie gets touched by. Like, it's kind of like Ellie telling her something from beyond the grave, which is something she gets sentimental over. Then we get to Joey and Augie's first meeting. It goes fine. He's playing some music for him, and it's honestly a sweet summer moment for them to, like, from Maddie and Edwin's perspective, like, at least Augie, for the time, he is having a relationship with one of his parents, like a real relationship, and it's a very heartwarming moment for them. It's very heartwarming. Speaking of heartwarming, Olympia does talk to her mom, and despite everything that happened, her mom is still going to still stay married to her husband because her husband gives her something that Olympia and her dad never really gave her, which was just an actual place at the table, having herself be heard, having herself be felt. Where, like, first it was the dad, then it was Olympia kind of just dictating her life, and she didn't like that. At least with him, even though, like, he's not perfect, he's not exactly a smart, wise person like them, but, like, he does give her a chance. He does give her a platform to speak up on. He does give her a opportunity to kind of be able to be a person with opinions, and and that's kind of what she wants right now of it, and it does make her happy of the matter. Senior does meet up with his ex again. Apparently, there's some sort of, like, agreement they made to, like, pass along information, and they both fucked each other over. Where, like, they're not giving each other anything because at this point there's no benefit. She still wants Senior gone, and she's gonna find a way to get her Senior gone without ruining the business. And Senior's actually appalled by it, but definitely it's a call to play here. Definitely is a call to play here of what his next move is going to be on that matter. Julian drops by to Olympia to drop off a backpack for her, supposedly one of their daughters that got left behind at a Senior's house during the party. But when Olympia does call over Maddie, apparently it wasn't just the backpack. Apparently she did ask Julian for the favor of getting the NDA from the office, which also included an SD card, which contained photos from the Australia trip he took. So they have, like, at least the bulk of the information to figure out exactly what did happen in Australia, what really happened, and we're finally on the verge of finding out, as the two are like giddy schoolmates, excited over this matter as the episode concludes with that, as we are on the cult to figure out exactly what did Senior do in Australia. I think this episode was good. I think it was a very, very heartwarming episode to get to see Olympia's vulnerability with her mom, realizing that, like, your personality may not always work well with your parents. As you grow older, as you kind of figure yourself out in the world, there are points where, like, you are not like your parents anymore. Maybe you are, but maybe you aren't, and you have to be open to that, open to the idea of, like, it may not exactly be what you expect to be with that point. But Olivia definitely making the provisions to at least be understandable to her mother with her decisions was very much a grown-up thing to do. And Maddie also, willing to, like, be a little uncomfortable with things, but for the better good is something that she's still kind of rectifying with, to give Augie the best, development possible, to give him, like, as he finishes off his, like, essentially his young years, to finally be with his dad to an extent is very much something that, like, she never anticipated, but at the same time she was very happy by it, to kind of, to see Augie being happy. And I think that's her job as a grandma, at least, to kind of give him a good life, and I think she is really much doing so as a result. Um, but for me, with the whole Senior thing, right now, it's still very much like, how dramatic are they going to make next week's episode? Like, Senior managed to stop the coup for now, but there's still no stopping the forces of his ex-wife moving against him. So, like, exactly how next week's going to end at that exact halfway mark of the season, I don't know. I really don't know, but I'm very happy to see, and I really want to see some really big turns with them. Billy and Sarah were kind of chilling this week. They really weren't doing so much, so to speak, on that front. But yeah, I'm just very excited for next week's episode, as the mid-season finale is finally here. It's coming. But with all that being said, I'm giving this episode 2 thumbs up. Let me know down below, what did you think of this week's episode of Matlock? Did you love it? Did you like it? Let me know down below. I would love to hear your thoughts about it. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been Was It 2 from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the 2nd season of Matlock. If you want to know what we're doing normally on What's in the Tube besides our Matlock reviews, right now we're just doing Matlock. Next week we will have our mid-season finale review up. We also have Walker and Nancy Drew definitive reviews that just went live during the break. We are doing one for the rookie before the year's end, so that will serve as like most likely our last What's in the Tube episode for the year. So stay tuned for that, and we will be back for new content next year. We also have After the Theater. You're getting 2 episodes hopefully this month, so a lot I'm working in the back end. But if you only care about Matlock, you're in luck. We will be back for next week for the mid-season finale. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring that bell for the next video when the notification goes live. And follow us on social media for more. But again, until we see each other again, peace out.